My name is Winston Kaki, and now to a false business story. As the U.S. prepares to go to the polls tomorrow to elect a president, some financial analysts have advised Ghana to keep an open door policy due to promises made by former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. They argue the uncertainties in U.S. politics mean Ghana must also diversify its foreign relations with the East. Let's explore what a win for either former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris would mean to Ghana's economy. Joining us via Zoom is Associate Professor of Finance at Andrews University, USA, Professor Williams Prepara. Hello, sir. Great. For you, what would a win for former President Donald Trump and or possibly Vice President Kamala Harris mean to Ghana's economy? First, Donald Trump before Kamala Harris.
Good evening to you, Winston, and good evening to your viewers. So we know that the American government normally works with policies, and their government normally dictates the policies. These policies are established in terms of trade relationship, foreign policy, and aid and security aspects. Normally, though these presidents may have their own agenda, but the U.S. Overall policy underpins whatever they want to do. For Ghana, for instance, we know that we benefited from AGUA, and this relationship is still ongoing. As a country, we may have to keep an open door to ensure that this trade relationship still exists. When it comes to foreign aid and policies, we know that both parties, Democrats and Republicans, have their own policies, but we've noticed that President Trump is focusing more on domestic agendas. So there is a kind of fear that when he becomes a president, other nations may suffer. But this will not override the overall international relationship. So there is a major concern in that effect. When it comes to the issue of security, we also know that the U.S. normally collaborates with a lot of countries in gathering security information. So that kind of relationship will still be there. Whoever be the president, we also have to keep an eye on that relationship. What really may affect Ghana is the point of trade, whether either of the president will be having a policy that is going to affect AGUA, and that will be a major impact on us.
Prof, you mentioned an open door policy. You said due to promises. How do we assess, based on our relationship, basically how Donald Trump will handle it as a vice Kamala Harris? Do you agree that this policy basically is positioning in Ghana's attribute, basically how best as we can as a nation to take advantage of the openness?
I mean, first, all the two political parties are talking of issue on immigration when it comes to open door policy. Their major concern is bringing immigrants through the legal means. If I take myself, for example, I came in through the legal means. I was working in Ghana, and then my university asked for me to come. So if you're able to educate more people in Ghana, we will still have the opportunity, if the open door policy is there, to come and work in the U.S. Their major concern is the illegal immigrants in the system. And that is what we've seen, that's the one that Donald Trump is talking about. That is the fear. And it's for every nation, it becomes a major concern if you have a lot of unregistered or illegal immigrants. They have an impact on your security. So that is why this is a major issue. As a country, as I've mentioned, as Ghana, we should keep on doing what we are doing by having an open door policy. Whoever becomes the president, we should go in to make sure that based on our comparative advantages, we will get the best out of each of the presidents. There is no need for us to align ourselves to the Democrats or Republicans. Our aim must be, how do we get the best for our country?
Prof, in terms of trade, Ghana has benefited out of import from the U.S. for several years. How do we position ourselves, basically, based on this happening now, especially policy direction?
So there is a major concern about trade. Even during the IMF section, it came up. There's a fear of trade war happening if the way the politics is going on in the US. If Donald Trump decides to look inward too much, it may lead to trade war. So that is the major concern. And we know, I mean, this is election, so he's saying what the people want to win, but probably the implementation approach may differ, which may tone down the fear of that trade war. And if it happens, it means that prices are going to be very expensive, especially for us as a country in Ghana. We're already suffering from the high, strong dollar, which is causing our city to devalue. And if the trade war also happens, it's going to cause a lot of issues for us. As I've mentioned, what we must do as a country is that we also have comparative advantage on some resources, which the U.S. government will need. So we may have to also be very strategic in how we are going to use these comparative advantage to negotiate with the U.S. to benefit from it. So that is how we should position ourselves.
Professor William Prepa, kindly hold on. We'll be back to you on subsequent conversation shortly. Some oil marketing companies have increased prices of petroleum products at the pumps. The adjustment can be linked to the rising prices of crude oil on the international market and cedi's depreciation. George Biafe has more.
By Joy Business show that the adjustment happened over the weekend, with some of the major oil firms having gone up already. One can talk about GOIL, which is selling a litre of petrol at 14 cedis, 64 pesos. Diesel, on the other hand, is going for 15 Ghana cedis, 45 pesos. Another major oil player, that is Shell, has also reviewed prices at the pumps, selling a litre of petrol at 14 Ghana cedis, 98 pesos. And diesel is going for 15 Ghana cedis, 58 pesos. Star Oil, which is currently the second major oil marketing firm in the country based on July market data, has kept the price of petrol unchanged at 13 Ghana cedis, 99 pesos. However, diesel has gone up and is selling at 14 Ghana cedis, 99 pesos. A careful look at the prices have shown that the margin of increase for this pricing window can be described as significant. We understand that more oil marketing firms are expected to increase prices at the pumps later this morning.
So we are joined on Zoom by Suleimana to give us more updates on what is happening in the international markets as oil prices continue to rise. What would this U.S. election also mean to prices of crude on the world market?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to you and to your cherished listeners and viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Yeah, indeed, we have a lot of uncertainties reigning through the market. What will this election mean, especially with U.S. elections? Mm-hmm. Yes, it will mean a lot. Number one, if you look at whoever comes to power, whether the Democrats or the Republicans, mm-hmm. I don't see fundamental shift in the energy policy of a sort. If there was any shift that was going to happen, it was going to be the Democrats within it, because they are mostly, lean to green energy in terms of how much investment they want to do into green energy. They have been in power for the past 8 years. We've seen some substantial investment into the world of green energy, but that hasn't taken anything away from the world of hydrocarbon, which is the fossil fuel. So, and if you come to Donald Trump, he's from the one has been mentioning drill, baby. That's always the word they use, meaning that they're going to drill and drill and drill. So let's say if you look at the balance of proportion between the Democrats and the Republicans, I don't think there's going to be any change in the energy policy, number one. Number two, if it's actually the Republican who will have the day and then Donald Trump become the president, then what will definitely happen is that there's going to be outsurge in terms of how much U.S. should channel. Remember, since 2019, U.S. has been the number one oil producer globally, and they've maintained that position and they've guarded that position jealously. And I don't think they are ready to do that. So if Democrats even didn't allow U.S. to slip from being number one oil producer, you can be sure that if Republicans come to power, it's going to be the same thing. What we'll likely see is that if you have too much supply into the market, then that will likely bring down oil prices into the market, into the scene. And as a consumer, if oil prices come down, consumers are going to benefit. Of course, if you're also a producer, you might want to say that it may not be good for you. So yes,
Dr. Suleiman,
on the balance of yes.
What would you say, as Ghana, who are net importers of this particular product, what will be the trickle-down effect on our prices, basically?
Yeah, so the trickle-down effect is that if you have a supply glut, it's going to have impact on the down. I mean, it's going to have a downward trend on the pump prices. Let's say if you have sustained, surge in supply that outweigh demand. Already demand is already weak as we speak now. China is the number one consumer, petroleum product importer, but China hasn't picked up much. So let's say if the supply side become robust and the demand side still stay the same way as it is, we'll likely see depressing oil prices. Remember, oil prices are struggling. Just until the recent announcement of OPEC cuts that has skyrocketed the price to around 75, it's been below the lower 70. So what I would say is that if there's supply glut, there's going to be a downward trend in the oil prices. But then if you're a producer, like Ghana, who also export oil, of course, you might be hit hard at the upstream side, where probably the amount you're going to get when you export the oil is going to reduce drastically. But it's not going to work that way. There's going to be a lot of negotiation between OPEC and even the shale pipe from the US. Nobody will allow the oil price to drop that drastically. They'll work on it unless, in the absence of any bearish momentum, we don't see oil prices dropping too much, but they will likely maintain it below around the 70s.
Okay, Dr. Suleiman,
lower 70s.
Interestingly enough, some OMCs have increased prices of petroleum products at the pumps due to the rising prices of crude oil on the international market, just as you mentioned. Also included is a cedi depreciation. Are we going to see more increases, whichever way possibly the global geopolitical factors play?
Yeah, so indeed, you're right. After the global geopolitical effects, they will likely have effect on the market, undoubtedly, and it will continue actually even to first quarter of 2025. Because the uncertainties arrive, a lot of political instability here and there, so that will have effect. But if it comes down to where we are purely, I would say that this increment is basically it has to do more of cedi depreciation than the rise. This rise actually we have it just today, actually, just few days. This rise is not the one that is accountable for what we have now. So maybe in the next window, if this rise sustains, we may likely have another increment. But I think most of this increment is because of lack of strong performance in the cedi that has impacted the upward adjustment. Yes, the price within the in the international scene, it has increased, but not that significant. This increment hasn't fed into the market. What we have today that has increased within these few days, it hasn't fed into the market. But of course, the marketers will always do forward pricing with the expectation that this increment will sustain. But I will tell you that this increment, I doubt whether it will sustain because it's speculative. It is just because of OPEC announcement. The chances are that within the coming days or up to 1 week, we will likely see the real picture of the market, in which case we may have the prices dropping around the lower 70s again. Yeah.
Dr. Yusuf Suleiman is an energy special strategist that spoke with us with regards to the performance of fuel prices on the international market. We take a break. When we come back, there is more here on Business Live. Welcome back from that break. Now to more stories. The Bank of Ghana has revealed that liquidity risk remains well contained in the banking industry, provided the government of Ghana bonds are liquid. This was captured in a stress test done by the central bank. The following report has more.
To the central bank, the stress test revealed that most banks would survive daily deposit withdrawals of 1% to 4% or 30 days if the government of Ghana bonds market was liquid. However, most banks would not survive a run of more than 1% of daily deposit withdrawals of 30 days in case the government of Ghana bond market is illiquid. The banking sector appears robust to interest rate risk. The results of a stress test showed that a 16.0 percentage points increase in interest rate persisting over the next year may lead to a decline in the CAR from a post-Eurobond restructuring level of 13.85% to 11.57%. The extreme decline in interest rates, the report said, may improve the solvency conditions in the banking sector, given that more liabilities would reprice over the next year horizon compared to assets.
The government recorded another marginal oversubscription of treasury bills, but at the expense of rising interest rates. According to auction results from the Bank of Ghana, the government backed 4.078 billion cedis against a target of 4.01 billion cedis. Here's more in this report.
Bids tendered were oversubscribed. About 3.32 billion Ghana cedis, representing 82.97%, came from the 91-day bill. A little over 549.96 million Ghana cedis were offered for the 182-day bill. However, 200.78 million Ghana cedis were tendered for the 364-day bill. The securities will be issued today, November 4, 2024. Meanwhile, interest rates continue to rise on the yield curve. The yield on the 91-day bill went up by 37 basis points to 26.56%. That of the 182-day bill was 27.58%, as against 27.29% the previous week. The rate on the 364-day bill was, however, up by 6 basis points to 28.97%.
In other stories, Ghana's mining industry saw an alarming increase in incidents of injuries in 2023, with fatal incidents escalating sharply from 1 in 2022 to 7. 4 out of the 7 fatalities were related to contractor activities, and the remaining 3 involved activities of a mining leaseholder. The upset, which represents a staggering 600% increase, was compounded with the first 8 injuries edging up from 156 to 162, suggesting persistent safety challenges. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
According to the Ghana Chamber of Mines 2023 performance report, all classes of reportable injuries in Ghana's mining industry increased year on year, except near misses and serious injuries. A near miss incident is an incident that does not result in loss of shift, injury, death, or damage of equipment. The frequency of near miss incidents declined from 325 in 2022 to 254 in 2023, translating into a downturn of 21.8%. Reacting to this, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Suleimanu Koni, says despite the positive outlook, mining companies must enhance preparedness and response to emergencies.
The frequency of serious injuries, which involves injuries that lead to loss of a shift of more than 14 days, declined by 34.6% to 17 in 2023 from 26 in 2022. However, the cases of fatal incidents worsened from 1 in 2022 to 7 in 2023, which represent a massive deterioration. Our industry faces unique challenges given the nature of our work and the environment in which we operate. However, these challenges also present opportunities for innovation and improvement in safety practices. By investing in comprehensive training programs, implementing stringent safety protocols, and leveraging the expertise of our collaborating partner, St. John Ambulance, we enhance our preparedness and response to emergencies.
4 mining teams and 4 community teams were engaged in a first aid and security competition in a quest to promote safer working environments across mines. The 2024 National Intermines First Aid and Safety Competition was themed "Safety, Our Collective Responsibility." The competition, organized by St. John Ambulance Ghana, provided a platform for knowledge and skills sharing which will contribute to the safety culture within the respective organizations. General Manager of Asante Gold Shirano Limited, Engineer Stephen Asante Yamua, says safety requires every individual to be vigilant, situationally aware and prepared.
It highlights that safety requires every individual to be vigilant, situationally aware, and prepared. We welcome the competing teams from Precious Gold Mine, Anglo Gold Ashanti Eduapi Mine, Golden Star Mine, and the host mine, Asante Gold Shirano Limited. We also welcome participants from our local community. The inclusion of community teams reinforces the mining industry's commitment to improving the lot of our host communities, and in this case, equipping everyone with first aid and knowledge. First aid knowledge, because emergencies can happen anywhere.
The team, including the winning team, Precious Mining Ghana Limited, were awarded laptops, tablets. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
And the Ghana Statistical Service has initiated the 8th Ghana Living Standards Survey. The survey will provide statistics on the welfare and living conditions of individuals and households in Ghana. The one-year survey will also assess children's literacy and numeracy skills in any language. There is more in the following report.
Ghana Statistical Service is set to conduct the 8th round of the Ghana Living Standards Survey, GLSS 8, which will focus on learning poverty. The 2021 Population and Housing Census indicated that 30.2% of the population 6 years and older were not literate in any language, highlighting the need for interventions to reduce illiteracy. Learning poverty is the inability of children to read and understand a simple text by age 10. Speaking at the closing ceremony for the training of field officers, Mrs. Abena Asamoah Osei Akoto, Chief Statistician and Project Coordinator, shared the objectives of the GLSS 8.
The learning poverty is finding out children 10 years who are able to read and understand a text that has been prescribed for that age level, and they are able to read and understand. So what we did was to engage the Ministry of Education and NACA as mentioned, and we prepared test items for these children, and here we concentrated on ages 4 to 17 years. We want to find out and assess on them on literacy levels as well as numeracy levels. So the learning poverty will help us report globally on how the country fares on that indicator. But generally, we are going to get all other indicators related to education, especially SDG 4.1.1 A, B, and C.
GLSS 8 is a World Bank and Government of Ghana project that will span a period of 12 months from 31st October 2024 to October 2025. According to Dr. Owusu Keja, the survey would cover around 1,000 clusters reaching over 25,000 households across the country.
So this is going to be a one-year project. As we indicated, by 31st October, we expect all field officers to be in their areas of assignment. And the next day, which is 1st November, all of us are starting interviewing. And we are going to do this throughout 2024 and 2025 until October thereabout.
That's all for business. For more updates, visit myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Winston Taki. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.